Mike Cannon is in the building. First ever KFC radio appearance. Long time in the making.
Yes, sir.
New comedy special is out. Life begins. You're doing the tour. You're making out with DeStefano. Life is fucking good, man.
Did you see the vid?
Yeah.
It was brutal because as soon as we both planned on that,
right?
Because they were he was the first celebrity that they went
Which,
to.
by the way,
Stefano getting the was it a Knicks game?
It was a Knicks game. Yeah.
That's fucking.
That's
big.
no joke. It either shows how big DeStefano's gotten or how bad the Garden's gotten. I don't know, but yeah,
a little bit of column A, column B.
Everybody on our audience
I think
knows.
Deeza still tweets that he's never sat in Celebrity Row.
Listen, maybe it's just straight racism. I don't know. Who knows? But Chris DeStefano goes to the Knicks game. He's sitting next to Mike Cannon. They put him up on the jumbotron as like welcome our guest, and these two start making out. Although the jumbotron didn't catch it, right?
No, a little bit of homophobia on the Knicks part. Is we lost nerve a little bit. I jumped in for the cheek. Chris apparently forgot it was happening. Then he turned, grabbed my face. They catch me kissing his cheek. Then they cut while we locked lips.
So you guys end up just kissing for nothing.
For funsies. Yeah. And everybody cheered, so that was a nice progressive moment. But,
that's also, I mean, that's Chris's dream come true because he's just a gay guy.
Yeah.
Like, just come out of the closet, DeStefano.
Yeah.
You're homosexual.
That's where we first, we both got along initially because we're like, oh, you used to play basketball. I used to play basketball. We're kind of gay?
Yeah, man. Where are you on the kidsy scale?
Yeah.
Me too, dude.
That's a weird sport for I feel like almost you guys had to closet yourselves in basketball.
Yeah.
Like I played hockey, and hockey just a bunch
Hockey,
of
they just suck each other's dicks.
kidding.
Hockey, we're
Big
smacking
time gay.
dicks. Like hockey's like everyone's kind of gay.
See, I knew wrestling. In high school, the wrestlers would hold us down and sexually assault us pretty often.
Luckily, there was not a wrestling team in my high school because I'd never want to meet a high school wrestler.
They're brutal humans.
It's a terrifying
They are
group of
all the
people.
kids that got cigarettes put out on them when they were 9.
Dad was like, you're 12 years old. Dad's like, it's time to cut weight. Yeah. Like, what?
You got to get down to 38 pounds.
Was that fruit snacks again, fatty?
You're riding a scooter with your garbage bag trying to lose weight.
Yeah, but hockey was fine. But basketball, I always thought was kind of not the alpha males of campus, but like
The
they
straight
wanted
ones.
to think of
The
themselves
straight
as the alpha males
guys.
of campus.
Yeah.
It's like, we're the basketball team. Hockey was like, we fucking play with dicks. It's cool.
Well, I'm pretty homophobic too, so I had to funny my way into gay. That was how, because I played 2
That's
years.
how we all got here.
Of course, I had to. I played 2 years of junior college basketball, and I was
Okay.
like one of two white kids, and so that was a part of my life in high school, gay jokes and gay chicken, all that shit. But then you go into that environment, and it's like this isn't really cool anymore. So I had to kind of make jokes up to the point where I'm like, guys, being gay is fun, and they're like, all right, culturally it's not, but we'll let you on the bus.
That's great. That's very funny. So I mean, you and DeStefano know each other through work, or you guys been friends a long time, or
Through
what?
stand-up. So
I
we
feel like
met.
I'm learning this this super gay fraternity that you guys
Yeah,
are.
right. Yeah, we started it out. We did open mics together up at Mocha Lounge in Harlem, which was again pretty much an all black venue.
I can imagine Mocha Lounge in Harlem is not going to be a
I
very
think
white
I threw
event.
a fit when they made me They tried to make me buy 2 drinks, like I was an audience member, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm on the show." They're like, "You still got to buy 2 drinks." I was like, "I'm out of here. I'm worth more than that." But we had both because you notice each other. I noticed his stature, and he wasn't wearing a Marvel Universe T-shirt, which in 2009 it was a complete nerd factory of kids with Asperger's that loved fucking comic books. So we just immediately we were like, "Oh, you're wearing
normal. You're a normal
Giants
human."
gear.
Yeah.
We're buds immediately. So that's
he's a
where it
funny
started.
fucking guy, man.
He's one of the most naturally funny, and you gravitate towards him because he has this charm. He's unfortunately attractive.
Yeah.
He's one of those buddies that you hang out with that you're like, I don't even see it, but you're like, I see it. You hate how many women love him.
There really is some, I'm learning the difference between stand-up comedy, you can write great jokes and you're clever and also just when you're shooting the shit, there's the funny.
Yeah.
He's got it. He can do it all. But
I think you find it on this, right?
Yeah.
Like in podcasting.
We've always said if you have a podcast, this interview is gonna go much better. You might be the funniest fucking comedian in the world, but if you can't run a bit right now, just talk to me and be funny. That's a very different kind of funny.
If you have no interpersonal ability and you just look down at your shoes for 40 minutes while you're trying to have a conversation, that's where you're like, oh, you're a joke guy.
Yeah, you can do the
Cool.
and that's fine.
Write your fun yuckums, and then we will never talk outside of the stage.
We've definitely had a few. We do it with everyone we have on, with celebrities, everyone. It's just so much easier if you have a podcast, which sounds like such a weird thing to say because It's not hard. At least I guess to us, it's not hard to just be able to talk and have fun with people. But some people just, absolutely. Like the joke is, podcasting is easy. Everyone has a podcast,
right.
But then you like meet people who don't have a podcast, and it's like, oh, you don't know.
You should have a pod. You should figure it out. I mean, it's just like just talk. Why can't you talk? But people can't do it.
And also, a lot of them are not good. So if you have a podcast, that doesn't mean you're necessarily capable. But
welcome to a pretty mediocre one, Mike. It's called KFC Radio.
But I found that, like, if you had friends growing up, like if you had a close-knit group of boys or whatever, you can typically do podcasts, right? You know how to have the conversation. You know how to bullshit. The Sunday morning wrap-up of the weekend, like if you were good at that, if that was a big part of your life in college, then you're immediately proficient on a mic.
That's very true. And I was just thinking that recently when part of the reason why I even got into this and why it worked was because I was like, it was like all my work and blogs were almost like an amalgam of my friends.
Yeah.
Like, he talks this way. This is his story. That's where he's from. And I was thinking, like, does everybody not have this? Like, I feel like everybody kind of has a crew of friends, but I feel like mine is funnier than yours. I don't know. I think I was just fortunate to be around a bunch of like idiots who have like funny inside jokes, funny lingo, their own words, their own style, and I just fucking stole it from them.
It's the same. It's the same thing with hip hop, right? It's like most rappers aren't the most hood guy in their neighborhood; they're the poet.
Yeah,
right.
So they're watching the most hood guys, and then they kind of take over that character,
the persona. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
and then they write from that perspective. Where I don't know if I'm the funniest of my friends. I have a friend named John who is like had the most traumatic childhood I've ever heard of in my life.
He's funny as fuck,
dude. He's so funny.
So do I, bro. I got one too.
His father made him smoke rats out of his garage and beat them to death with a brick when he was 9 years old.
Okay, he beats you.
I did one time. No, this is true. It wasn't like anything like that. But we set up boom boxes because there was a skunk trapped in like we put our trash barrels like down low, and there was a skunk trapped in it.
So you blasted music.
And if you like put, I guess they're scared of like bass.
No
so
shit.
we set up like a bunch of bass and
Did it work?
Blasted it. Yeah, it worked. I don't know. It could have just been he got bored and left. But it's like
not for me. I'm
like,
a trap
I've been
guy.
here for 3 hours, guys. The music finally worked. I'm out of here.
How'd you find that information?
My dad told me. He helped me set up. I don't know where the fuck he found it.
I think that might have been a Papa Fighterwork special. Like, I don't know, we're gonna fucking play that rap music.
No.
I hate it too. Maybe the skunk does.
The white part of a skunk hates it.
He had all the weird things. Like we went bat hunting with tennis rackets because I feel like that's how you catch, because that's how you get sonar.
That is the best.
Sure.
That was, we like chased it out of my grandmother's house with just
Whacking it with a tennis racket?
never even came close to it. It's the same thing. Like it just left eventually. We were just running around with Prince rackets for a few hours.
So your
Like,
house
we're
was,
gonna get to it.
you're infested with skunks and bats, huh?
The bat was at Nana's house. The skunk was at my house. Yeah, I never had to kill anything, but I guess we tried to kill things.
Yeah.
Your friend's just more proficient than me.
You just smash rats with bricks.
Oh, dude, and when he was
That's
10,
tough.
I know this is his story, but when he was 10 years old, his mom would have like, random friends and lovers kind of come into the house. And there's one guy, Wiley, my buddy John, had to help him in from his car. And he was like, on ecstasy. He was fucked up. He was like, lurched on this 10-year-old's back. He carried him into the house, put him on the couch. And like later that night, his mom woke him up in an emergency and was like, you got to help me get Wiley into the car. He's got to go to the hospital. So he's like, in his pajamas, 10 years old, helps him back into the car. And then like the next day, he's just eating breakfast with his mom. They don't speak about it. And then at lunch, he's like, what happened to that guy? And she's like, oh, he's dead. He's just a dead man now. So
He
John's
doesn't
like,
exist anymore.
yeah, now he's like kind of processing
Like, what
that
is
as
death?
an adult.
Yeah.
So
Holy
don't expect any presents from Wiley anymore. Christmas is over. That's
Jesus.
He'd be a
And then-
great comic if he didn't care about money. That's pretty much it.
So yeah, just like tell me all your jokes about dead rats and dead bodies, and I'll put it into my act.
Yeah, imagine trying to make that relatable to people. I love it because I come from a traumatic childhood as well, but trying to spew that out at strangers who came here,
You know how it was when your dad made you bash rats. I mean, he sounds like a combination of literally Charlie and Mac.
Charlie
where
worked.
he's like Mac. No, actually, it's just Charlie. It's Charlie's mom would fuck Santa to get presents, and then Charlie has to kill. You're just boys with Charlie.
Handsome and well-kept Charlie Kelly. Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. It's sick how much like a traumatic life is like a good thing in comedy.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
almost
dude.
like, yes, she died. Like, now I got a great fucking bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
what?
since my special, I'm like trying to develop all this new stuff, and it's painful. You know, you go up on stage, and you give a new idea, and you think you struck gold in your mind, and you're writing it down, and then you realize
Crickets.
that nobody has any idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And I told a story about it. Me and my dad fist fought when I was like 19, and I was on steroids, and he threw the first punch, and I
beat the shit out of him?
So my dad has a huge anger problem, right? Is just mentally ill. And I went to 2 years of junior college, and the deal was if I did that, I was able to go to any school that they could afford after, or any school that I got into afterwards. So I came home from visiting my then girlfriend at Syracuse. I was like, I'm going to go to Ithaca. I'm going to play basketball there. They have my major. I know exactly where I want to go. My dad was like, absolutely not, SUNY. Like, my parents were going through a divorce. It was just a tumultuous time. They were like,
Right.
it was wild. So he just instantly, like classic Irish, gets wildly red, starts frothing from the mouth, doesn't know how to express himself in a
Know it
communicative way.
Yes.
So he's screaming in my face. He's 6'2", 280.
Holy shit.
I'm 6'1", 205 of straight D-ball. And my dad, like, I guess just didn't know and threw like kind of a lazy punch to my midsection. And I guess I T-1000 knew this was coming, chopped down on his forearm, dead-armed him, and then like a right fielder throwing a third, crow hopped, punched him right in his fucking pumpkin Irish head. Then he like fell back, and I ran out of the house, didn't come back for a few days, went to Villanova, got arrested for underage drinking. It was like,
Tale as old as time. Everybody beats up their dad and goes and gets arrested the next day.
and I'm like telling people this on a stage, and they're like, "Well, we just got here from Switzerland, so this is horrifying."
I would keep working that
to
bit, man.
America.
I think there's something there.
Yeah.
Don't let the Swiss ruin it for you.
Dude, absolutely not. I'm in on that story.
All right,
Like,
done.
that must be
Fantastic.
fucking so hard though. Like, I can't imagine getting on stage with the new ideas that you think. That's like I would just never do it. That's
I
why I
know.
just do it on a podcast, and if no
Yeah.
one laughs, I don't know.
That's really that's honestly the main thing. It's
know.
like there could be 2 billion people on the other side of this mic. I don't have to see them right now. And
Right.
I don't know if they like it or they don't like it. And half the time you're on a commute or it's like background noise. When you're at the club and you paid money for a ticket and it's just like boom, make me laugh, funny man. And they don't. I feel like that rejection would just fucking kill
Well,
me.
you've done it a few times.
I
Right?
did it one time. I opened up for Josh Wolf.
Nice.
We've done like live podcasts.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the only time I've ever like been on stage and done like this is my material, and it was fucking terrifying.
How'd it feel?
I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I have yet to go back, not because it was like it went. I think it went well. It was definitely a little more. I said I felt like Marty McFly in Back to the Future when he plays Johnny B. Good, and the crowd's like, it was a little bit much for Josh Wolf's crowd. I was talking about like porn and jerking off and shit, and they were like, there were some chuckles, but I think they were like, whoa, and I was just kind of like, all right, my crowd would like that. I promise, you know. But even that, like, I feel like we're in a spot where, like, if I were to do stand up for my crowd, I feel like they would have like already heard a lot of the stories and
Sure.
whatnot.
Yeah.
But if I do it to a new crowd, they don't quite know it yet, so I'm like kind of
Yeah.
stuck in no man's land.
Well, that's the thing. If you're gonna do it, you kind of have to go into the shit.
Yes.
So you have to do
Which-
the open mics, and that's
why
one
I
of the more
commend you
painful
guys.
things you could ever do.
Ever.
Because you're just looking at 13 comics who are waiting for their time to
Who don't
speak,
give a fuck
and
about
they
you.
truly don't care.
Right.
Like, you know, even if you have
Right.
credits or anything, or if
Doesn't
you know, I
matter.
used to when I first started doing okay on TV and stuff, I would still go to open mics just to fill in my schedule and get time on stage and stuff. And the looks, nobody cared. It was still the same. Like
They probably care about not caring. Like,
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
even want
Yeah.
to give you the satisfaction of a laugh.
Yeah.
We have
Right.
to, like, it's like they're going through like the
They're in
like,
competitive
the dead
mode.
grandma thing, like so you don't come, so you don't laugh. like I just do not want to laugh at anything this guy says, so he quits his job and goes back to work in
Yeah.
like the regular world.
I
exactly it.
could never. And I also feel like, I mean, when did you start?
I started in like for real 09. I did a few like a handful of open mics up in Rochester when I went to Geneseo.
Right.
And that, you know, that was mostly me blackout drunk on stage and like, you know,
Rambling and
yeah,
shit.
just rambling.
But still, just
nonsense.
having like, I mean, to start now for me in like my mid 30s, it's
Right.
like, bro, you are so late in the game that I might be able to like craft something that works, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't be like a stand-up at this point. I feel
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's-
you might be
I
able to,
I
but it's
could.
not-
It's
yeah.
just like very daunting to start now. You know
Especially
what I
with
mean?
all you got going on, that
Yeah.
it would be weird to dedicate that much time to hell.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's tough when like there probably is a certain expectation because people do know Barstool and
Sure.
know who I am. And it's like, no, I still suck at this. Like you
Right.
got to treat me like I'm a fucking like 18-year-old who's just starting.
Yeah.
Not a guy who has like a following already. So, but those are all excuses. Like
Yeah.
I could just do it and put my balls on the table and figure it out. But I'm being a pussy about it, where all you guys just actually go through it. And that's what would you think is more important, being like funny or being like a masochist who's willing to put yourself through all the shit? I feel like it's like a coin flip almost.
Yeah,
no?
in terms of the business?
Yeah.
In terms of the industry, neither of those matter. But I think, funny is obviously
you gotta
huge.
be funny.
You gotta be funny, but you also have to be able to take a punch.
Yeah.
And an emotional punch, because I'm so personal in my bits. Like, it's really about me and it's about my life. So if you don't like my jokes, you don't like me personally.
Yes. I know that feeling.
And that's why bombing still, I'm 11 years in, it still hurts to this day.
No, you don't like me as a human.
Yeah, this room full of people made a concerted joint decision that they are not a fan of me from my bones down.
I definitely feel that, where on like a lighter level, like there are guys here who kind of have like a persona or a character, and so if they don't like that, it's like whatever.
Yes.
But here it's like, hey, you guys do that too, right? It's like, no, man, that's just you.
Yeah,
you're a
that's on
fucking
you,
weirdo,
man.
and you have weird, your actual being, your person. Nah, not for me.
I know. I almost like I admire Jerry Seinfeld for being so disconnected from his material. You know what I mean? 'Cause, he's a borderline sociopath as it is, but I think his material is just jokes. And he's always said in interviews, he's like, if this one doesn't work, then I go to the next joke. Like, he doesn't take it personally. I'm so personal with the bits that I take it as an affront. And I'm such an asshole, used to be athlete, that I'm like, I'll fucking fight you right now.
Laugh at this shit, right? I'll beat you up. Yeah.
That would weigh me down forever. Like, I always say that with with Twitter replies, and it's like, yo, this is hilarious. And you get 500 of those, and you get one.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really care for it. I'm like, oh well, son of a. That's all I think about.
Right.
So if a whole room decided we don't care for it
In real time, like right away, you get immediate feedback.
I would break down weeping on stage, and that's like not even a joke. I guarantee you.
That might play too, by the way.
I'd start crying. I'm like, I'm 99.9% sure. I
would love to see that.
I would be confused. It would be a full mental breakdown on stage.
Yeah.
There would be confusion. There would be anger. There would be weeping. I'd hit all the fucking points.
Stages.
Yeah.
And it would be like, and I would just lay there crying until someone came and got me.
And there's part of that. That happens. Yeah. I remember in college, dude, and this is like kind of in comedy, kind of not. Like, I would do an open mic, and it wouldn't really even be about that. I was just going through so much family turmoil.
Just like therapy
that
on
I would,
stage.
Yeah, I would unload on a crowd. It'd go fine because, Rochester, you could talk about piss and shit and just crush. And they're like, that is relatable. Genius stuff. But then, like, you go through your head and you're going, what am I doing? Who do I think I am? And I'd be back at my dorm in Geneseo, and then I'd just take a walk onto the softball field and straight up just throw hands at God. I would just shadow box the wind and be like, how dare you? I'm like, this is the worst moment of my life. It's both sad and funny.
It is. I feel like in some ways, like, comics have like the thickest skin, but in some ways they're like the most emotional too. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my work. This is my craft.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
You want to know how much comics don't have thick skin? Is every single blog about comedy gets the most traction because of comedians.
Yeah.
We're the only people that spread it. We are our own worst PR agents.
Yeah.
Because anytime somebody's like, this type of comedy is dead and you can't say this, we're like, how dare you?
Right.
Here's a link to that in my opinion. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just drown it with silence and nobody will ever see it.
Very true. Very true. I feel like the special, you just kind of took matters into your own hands, right?
Yeah.
Threw it out on
Yeah.
YouTube.
The Schultz model.
Yeah,
Schultz
I mean,
model, for sure.
he's proven it possible. I feel like it's only a matter of time before. I don't know. I can't decide whether, like, Schultz was very like, fuck him, I don't need him, I'll just do it myself. But then all of a sudden, when the offer comes in and the money's right, he's gonna come and do it. You know what I
of
mean?
course.
It's very easy to just say.
And I know
like,
the money. He should have taken it. That is money anybody would agree to.
it's very easy to just be like, I don't need you when they're not offering.
Of course.
But then when they are offering, you're like, okay, well, I don't need you.
Which
do it. You know what I
which
mean?
is the situation I'm in because
Right.
I'm an 11-year not veteran, but I'm an 11-year working comedian at this point. That I've already put out an album. It did well. It went #1 on iTunes. We got on the Billboard charts, all that stuff. So I'm constantly looking for a new thing and a new way to showcase myself to people that aren't familiar with my work. So Comedy Central wasn't offering me a half hour. None of the networks were offering me any times, 15 minutes on Netflix, none of that stuff. So with all that's available to us, I'd be an asshole not to film my own thing.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the risk of being oversaturated in YouTube. There's going to be specials galore on that thing, but hopefully, the good ones rise to the top, and people share the good shit as opposed to, just hate watching other stuff, which I'm guilty of doing.
A half hour is a long time to hate something too, though.
Yeah. I've done it. I've watched a recent Amazon special that I just watched the full hour and was just melting down while my 6-month-old son was staring at me, just like, all right, I guess this is who's watching me.
I'm gonna fist fight this guy one day.
I used to be. I fell off with the hate watching stuff. I fell off with the hate follows. I fell off with the hate watches. I don't think it means I've matured or anything like that. Yeah. But I think I just got. Almost like what you were saying with the Drowning of Silence. I'm like, I'm just not going to watch it. I'm just not going to
not going to engage in it.
There was a time, there were like 8 years where it was just everyone I followed. I didn't follow anyone I liked on Twitter. I hated every single person I followed on Twitter. And I've finally grown out of that a little bit. I don't think it helps at anything, but it's
that is a hilarious
what I'm doing right now.
Gift. If you're like the fat Jewish, but for hate aggregators, you just put out everything that's
You're
awful.
a meme account for hate.
Yeah. This guy sucks. That's what Jack Mack is here now.
Yeah,
Jack
just
Mack
outing everybody.
Just like, be mad at this person.
Yeah.
Be mad at that person.
Listen, there's some value in that. I'll follow
especially
that.
now.
Yeah,
Especially
there's a lot.
now.
There's a lot of people to hate.
People want to flex their rage because it's happening.
It looks good though. Like it's shot.
My buddy,
multi cameras. And
we had
all
6
that
cameras. I think we ended up using 4. But my buddy Mike Lavin, the homeless pimp on Instagram, I pitched him this idea because the whole thing was kind of a concept, right? Where I got into this Comedy Cellar in a very bizarre way. I was actually with Chris DiStefano and we were having dinner with his daughter, and he was supposed to open for Colin Quinn while he was working out Red State, Blue State. I'm sitting there with him. Liz, the manager, gets a text that Colin suffered a heart attack. So she looked at me. I've never done a set at the Cellar. She was like, "Can you do 30 minutes?" And I was like, yeah, like, okay, instant panic attack.
I was going to say, you said yes, but on the inside, you're like, oh, fuck.
I almost said no.
Yeah,
I almost was like, because I actually just came off having a panic attack in Long Island before I went on stage while I was having one.
Whew.
I felt the pressure on my chest.
Up to that?
Tunnel vision, like all the vertigo, and I had to do an hour in what's the one way out there? Whatever, Bohemia, Long Island. And it went well enough because I just Irished all
I was going to say, why that was in your DNA.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like, you shouldn't do it, but you were like, I got this.
Yeah. And so
I can't even like lay in bed having a panic attack, let alone get up there and fucking perform though. That's impressive.
It was tough, man. But you know the bits so well that I can kind of get through autopilot of an hour.
Right.
But so I just came off of that. I almost said no. I said yes. Chris and Rich Voss ended up going first. I don't know if they were doing it as a favor or if they're so comfortable with the club that they were all trying new. Like they didn't care. They're throwing out whatever the fuck. And then I went up and did every A joke I've ever written in my entire life through fastball after fastball, and I had such a good set that they sent it to Esty the booker, who is a terrifying, powerful woman.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting an audition like 2 months later, so it was still a really long wait period. Got the panic leading up to that, the panic of the night, the panic during the set, the whole thing ended up doing well enough that I got into the Comedy Cellar. And so I pitched that idea to Mike Lavin that I wanted to tell that story because it was new enough. The Comedy Cellar is obviously filmed and spoken about and Crashing, Louis, all that stuff. Yeah. But it was personal enough and different enough where I wanted to talk about it and also include 5 of my heroes, if we could get them, all interstitially talking shit about me, because the premise is now I'm at the Cellar, now I'm at the table, and I'm performing with these guys that I looked up to.
It was very self-aware, like the beginning where you're like your friend's like, yeah, I know, yeah, man, you told me before. Like,
you keep telling the story.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a fucking awesome story. I would tell it to everyone I ever encounter. Like, hi, my name's Mike. Did you hear? Like, so I don't blame you, but it was a well done. Like, let me get this in, but be aware that I've told this many times before.
And that's the thing with comedy now is a lot of it is very cool. It's, especially mainstream. It's kind of, I call it sneaker comedy. Is people are wearing cool bomber jackets and awesome sneakers, and the jokes are like 5th on the list. I wanted to put something out that was self-effacing. It included Colin Quinn, Jim Norton, Bobby Kelly, Keith Robinson, and Rich Voss. I basically had a tough crowd reunion on my special, which is wild. And they all, instead of saying they respected me, went straight to camera and spoke vitriol and hate.
Colin Quinn initially being like, yeah, I mean, it's just because I fucking had a heart attack. He owes me everything. Like, it's great.
Oh, and him saying I thought the worst part of my career was turning down Mike Myers for Austin Powers, but it turns out it's getting you into this club.
Did he really do that shit?
Yes, he was supposed to play Dr. Evil.
No way.
Yeah, Mike Myers offered him.
And then
Dr.
Mike Myers was
Evil.
like, "Fuck it, I'll just do it myself."
I think so.
Wow.
Colin was like, "I gotta write Crocodile Dundee too." So.
God, that's a bad. There's always those stories. That's a bad miss. Because usually it's like, what was it? I remember like Will Smith was supposed to do The Matrix, but it's like he turned it down, but he's still fucking Will Smith.
I think he did Wild Wild West.
Right, like he probably still made 20.
$100
Yeah. But not that Colin Quinn doesn't have a great career, but if you're getting that Austin Powers trilogy type money after, I mean, that's
you never have to do anything again.
Yeah.
You can do whatever
Mike
you
Myers
want.
hasn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Mike Myers is proof he did not have to do anything else after
He's
that.
the love guru, and then was like, I think that's enough.
I think he made
You just did Shrek. You just read scripts for like 10 hours. and that was it.
right. Forgot.
But Shrek is 5 minutes of work.
He
Another
also
thing
did
that prints
Glorious
money.
Bastards, I think.
He did?
Oh yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's a very tiny role in it, but he's the one who sends fucking what's his name, Fassbender.
Oh,
into, like, the basement.
And he was in the
right.
Queen movie.
All right, so he's done a bunch of fucking work.
Yeah. Big
Shout out to
movies,
Mike.
like Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
He's doing all right.
Couple
Good career.
Oscar winners. Yeah. Still working, doing massive movies. But you don't remember it right away. To be fair.
Yeah, we had to dig.
So that night, why DeStefano and Voss, like they were like veterans there, but like they've been around.
They're both comfortable in their spot there,
but they just not enough time. Like they still needed you to fill in. Because I was just wondering why like DeStefano wasn't like, all right, I'll just fucking do my hour or something like that.
I think he had just filmed his special, and his daughter was with him.
Oh,
so
right,
he was
right,
like, "I'm going to do 20 and get the hell out of here."
Right.
And
Good
then,
luck, yeah.
and I guess like Liz, offered me the thing and was like, "Well, still do time."
I mean, that's got to be. I wonder, they had to have known that like you're competent, right? Or you think they were like, it wasn't like they were just.
This is my whole thing with the Comedy Cellar is I treated it with reverence and I wasn't a lingerer, which I think may have done me a service because
100%.
There's a lot of people, a lot of comics that are seen not working, hanging out there. So they're there from like 3 p.m. writing, and ordering everything on the menu, and nobody ever sees them do spots, but they're hoping that somebody's going to notice them, recommend them, and then
have a heart attack.
Yeah, drop dead.
I mean, I feel like you don't give Chris enough credit in this scenario. Like you owe Colin Quinn's shitty heart and Chris's shitty ability to wear a condom. Right. Like hugely important pieces.
Yeah, if his daughter wasn't there, he's probably like, all right, I'll just do my whole set. Yeah.
I mean, Chris,
the pullout game. Thank you. Thank you to the Stefano's pullout game.
I used to open for Chris on the road, and I was. This is while he was with his baby's mom, and I was basically his pussy sober coach. Like, this was during guy code days, so like girls were like, Chris, and I'd be like Heismaning them out of the way, just trying to keep his dick dry.
Keep him off that drip.
Yeah, exactly.
The Comedy Cellar is. I mean, I feel like trying to get in there is almost like trying to like woo a girl, where it's like you got to be aggressive, but not too aggressive. Don't be there too long.
Right.
Like be confident, but you know what I mean. It's like a whole dance that
it's crazy, man.
Esty sounds just like she's goddamn like comedy terrorist. Like she just holds your fucking fate in her hands. And she's having a bad
woman.
day. She could, right. I was like, oh no, I can't believe
She's the best. I owe that woman my life. But yeah, I mean, she's the Don.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, it's
She's
like
the
mafia
Don,
shit.
Yeah, she's the Don of New York comedy. So that's why, like, you see her, and there is so much power and energy almost emanating off of her that you can't help but be like a little shook.
Was she a comic herself, or she just owns the club?
She was an Israeli soldier, which is even
See, all right, so she's an actual terrorist.
I don't even know if you're kidding.
She's not. No,
she was an Israeli soldier.
She's from Israel, and it's mandatory for them
to do like service,
to
right?
serve. Yeah. So she's as tough as nails, man, and she knows what she likes. She goes after it, and she doesn't give a fuck.
So, but she must have had she has some taste in comedy, or she literally just put on like what she wanted.
She's been there
or
forever.
happens to align.
Yeah, she's been there forever. Manny Dwarman was the original owner. Noam is his son, who is now the current owner, and she's had these relationships with everybody for decades at this point. And I don't know if she learned on the fly, if she had any kind of comedy background to enter into that position, but she just had an affinity for liking and looking at comedians and organizing spots based on a variety of interests, skills, and all that stuff. Because you can't put 7 people with the same exact act on the show because it gets stale, and that's how your club ends up going under.
Right.
So she knows who to pick, who to position in certain spots on the show and what they talk about so much that they have 11 to 13 shows per night on the weekend.
Jesus Christ.
And she's coordinating 15-minute spots for all those shows. It's crazy.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. I would be on so much Adderall if I had that position. I would just have orange rims of my nostrils just being like, who's up now?
So you mentioned the 6-month-old.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
You're in the thick of it right
Potent
now.
cum, yeah.
I know that game, man. You had told some story. I think I saw it on Instagram. I think you were on maybe Francis' podcast or something like that.
Oh yeah, how it happened.
Yeah, you were like joking about it, right? You were like,
totally...
I put a baby in you, and then she called like a day later, like, yeah, you did.
My wife and I have been having sex since we were 15 years old. So we've known each other since we were in elementary school, growing up. Our main objective up until 34 was to not have this happen.
Right. So you've been angling against this.
Yeah, dude, our whole life, and even in marriage, we were both like, she owns her own business, I do this. We're trying to find, that impossible area of stability when it's right to have a kid. It just doesn't exist,
Never.
right?
Yeah.
So we're having the conversation. We're talking about it. We're unsure. We're not going to be mad if it happens. We're not going to be mad if it doesn't. I'm about to go to the Middle East to perform for the troops, and that whole week I was stealing valor, like especially in my house. I am marching around my apartment just being like, I'm a goddamn hero, and I'm going over there to the troops and
Honestly,
I'm overseas.
as a non-troop, I think you earned it.
Hell yeah,
like a fucking course. I'm going to the Middle East. I'm going to a war zone. I'm a fucking hero.
Goddamn right. And so, of course, we have sex the night before I leave, and like, as a joke, as we're having sex, because apparently I can't take anything seriously, I hold it in, drop a batch right in her, and literally as I'm coming, say, I'm deploying. Like, smack her on the butt, tell her to hold it in, and like walk to the bathroom. And then 2 weeks later, or 13 days later, when I came home, she was like, I'm pregnant.
You did it.
Yeah.
You actually deployed.
And of course, she waited till I smoked pot for the first time in 2 weeks, so I am on Jupiter. And she's like, by the way, I feel weird. I think I should take a pregnancy test. She didn't tell me anything, and I was like, okay. So she went in the bathroom, took this piss test. She jumps in the shower immediately, which I found to be odd.
Yeah.
And then from the shower goes, all right, it's probably ready. Check it. And I look, and I pick up the test, and it's like, it's not just a red plus. It's like carved with a knife. Like, it's
You're
so
double pregnant.
It's so positive.
Yeah.
It like might as well have said the gender as well. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm so high that I'm like, make sure your face looks positive. And I was just like, oh my God, we're pregnant. And she's like, what? And I'm like, what is my face doing? I'm like looking in the mirror, and she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're pregnant. And then I pulled the curtain, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I feel like that's extremely rare for the guy to see the test before the girl.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, we're pregnant. She's like, you're not mad or sad or worried? And I'm like,
I'm all of those things. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah. I was like, no, this is great. Like, I'm so excited. She's like, good, because I took 4 pregnancy tests 2 days ago, and they were also positive. So she had
sitting on this.
Dude,
Yeah.
she's just been holding in this secret as I'm off in the Middle East while I was making jokes about catching, a shrapnel to the chest and potentially dying.
Whoa.
And yeah, she was holding my seed that whole time.
My second kid, I remember we went to like CVS, and she was getting a test, but she also came back with like a bag of Doritos, of fucking, it was almost like a sitcom, like a jar of pickles, or this or that, and the other thing. And I was like, put the fucking test away. Like, let's save the $20. We're going to need it, because I think I know what's going on here. God damn it.
I mean, juggling too, that's also what would probably make stand-up really difficult, is you're so busy as it is.
Yeah, like nights for you are obviously shot,
I'm out.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm lucky, and in the sense that because we both have flexible schedules. So during the day, on non-promotional runs like I'm doing right now, I'm typically home with my son all the time, and it's great. I love doing that, because then I get the outlet of at night I get to talk shit about him.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
People don't realize that.
Yeah.
You need to talk shit.
But then being on the road, it's like there is I'm sure you feel this, there is a real internal pull back
Yeah,
home.
like, I gotta get back.
Like,
Yep.
I mean, I used to love the road. I used to booze all the time and wake up with the panic and restart the end. Restart the whole thing. Now I'm like, I haven't drank in like 14 months, so I started as like in solidarity with my wife, and now I just enjoy being thin and not hungover.
Honestly, the hangovers for me, I feel like were the point where it's just like I just don't want to feel like this in 12 hours when I'm done drinking.
Yeah.
So I can't do it anymore.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I'm still smoking pot pretty regularly, so.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone needs a substance of some sort. But
I'm abusing other things.
Yeah.
It's just
I can't feel everything.
I mean, if you are 30 plus, stubborn Irish Mick, like you can't do it naturally.
I was wondering if that was just, like this was gonna turn into an intervention on me real quick.
No, listen. If it's you, it's all of us.
You were
like,
about to flip it into like a yes. Why do you still drink so much?
No, I don't know about other groups and how they handle it, but in the beginning, like I don't think I realized like the Irish suppress all your details and feelings until like I went through some shit, and then it was like, oh, now I get it, because there was nothing to suppress. There was nothing to. Life was good. It was easy.
Right.
And now it's like there's some things like, oh, I'm not going to speak about that to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put that down into my toes and just fucking live.
I'm going to walk around with tears constantly on the lip of my lids.
ready to go.
Yeah, ready.
Lip quivering, just
ready
ready
for the
and
levees to break. The amount of times I've walked around 7th Ave just being like, why am I crying?
New York's beautiful with that, man. I see it. It's not like
strangers crying
overly regular, but like people walk around crying straight back, like not like trying to hide it, not anything, just straight back, staring right up and looking you in the eye as they weep. And I'm like, I love that. Like, shout out to you. That's fucking beautiful.
It's like
good for you.
An interactive billboard for depression.
It's like they're like everyone I walk by is gonna get this, so I'm not even gonna try and hide myself. I'm just gonna cry walking down the street.
Yeah. Oh, the worst is running. I mean, I get recognized very seldomly, but I have been recognized while crying in New York, which is a tough thing I also have in common with Chris, because Chris went through a really rough breakup once, and he's just like, head down, hysterically crying, this big oaf of a Brooklyn douche, and he's walking around New York, and some guy goes, "Guy Code DeStefano," and he looks up, and the guy goes, "Oh shit, dude."
Man, it's not normal. It's not normal. We just laugh about it. None of this is normal. We should not be walking around crying, but here we are. Here we fucking are, man. So what's next? You said you're working on new material.
Now, I'm working on new material.
That's got to be. I think that would also be the hardest part for me. It's like how long were you working on Life Begins? How many years were you working on that material?
So I was ready after like 14 months.
Oh,
I had an hour, and then my wife got pregnant, and I scrapped like 20, 30 minutes of it. And most of it was like, I'm not ready for kids. I'll never have kids. Like, if I ever have a kid, I will take my own life. And I'm like, well, clearly this stuff is no longer.
You can tell your kid that one day. It's like, right from Jump Street, you made my life harder. I had to do extra work as soon as you were conceived, you little motherfucker.
Exactly. So it took me like...
But still, I mean, the fact, you work on something for 14 months and you put it out, and maybe you get good feedback and maybe it opens some doors or whatever, so it's not like all for nothing, but the sense that it's just like, that's done.
Yeah.
And now let's start it the fuck over.
I think Dan Soder said it the best, where he's like, it feels crazy. It feels like you built a house, then you knock it down and you have to build a house right where it was.
Right.
It's like it's both great and depressing and anxiety inducing, and it's exciting to go up with no idea if stuff's going to work, and having a new bit that actually functions is probably one of the best highs you could ever have as a comedian.
Like you know that it worked. Yeah.
And it only lasts for like 2 weeks, because then once it starts really cooking, you're like, well, this is too easy. Fuck that. I have to write something new that actually, makes me feel again.
I got to get that crying on 7th Avenue vibe going again. Yeah, exactly. Until then, it's nothing.
So now it's like, I'm glad I threw out that material, because, my second hour would have been kind of a similar note to my first. I wouldn't have grown that much. I would have been married for a little bit longer. I would have still been in the thick of drugs and boozing, and but now my life has kind of evolved where, hopefully as I'm writing these bits and I'm auditing my own childhood. I don't know if that made you do that, but like having a kid and realizing that it's my responsibility to teach him and mold him and hopefully protect him from certain traumas, expose him to others, and just to make him interesting.
You got to make sure you're funny. So
exactly, we got to scare the shit out of you at some point. But but like it's made me kind of go through my own childhood with a fine-tooth comb, and I find myself writing about that for the first time. It's been pretty therapeutic and a learning experience and horrifying all at the same time.
Yeah, no. I mean, and you said it earlier. Like, there's no right time. There's no I'm ready. You know, like you might think you are, and then you get thrown into it.
Yeah, I think as soon as it happened, I was like, I switched, like my gear switched, you know, because I'm an irresponsible ass. I think my whole life I lived for me, and you know, my wife and I, we've been together for such a long time, but she's known me since I was 10, so nothing I could do could shock her or surprise her, and she just knew what to expect. I don't think she expected me to be a grown up that quickly. As soon as she told me she was pregnant, I was good. I was ready. So it turns out.
Well, you need like something to push you, you know, because you always can be like, all right, next time.
I think if that's if that's your last resort, like that's where I'm at. Where like if I had a kid just to feel something, that's a mistake. That's just like
great, dude. Just do it.
Yeah. I had a buddy text me who he just had a kid, and he like texted me the picture, and he's like, it's so awesome to have this. Like, I don't worry about anything anymore. I'm not worried about like saving money. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not worried that, like I didn't save money or didn't save a ton of money. You know, I'm not worried about anything else other than the fact that I just love this kid unconditionally. I'm like, man, that's really beautiful. But like, I feel like that's a big risk for me to take.
Yeah.
Like that's a big limb to go on. I'm like, I'll probably love this thing. I'll probably have a big shift, but maybe I don't. Like maybe my brain doesn't switch and that kid's dead in like 2 weeks and I'm in trouble.
Then you find out just an unsettling thing about yourself. You're like, wow, even
I am actually the biggest piece of shit.
Like I just didn't. That didn't bother me at all. And now I'm going to jail. Like that gamble would not pay off.
You say that.
I'm not saying it definitely would happen. I'm just saying like pretty good chance.
Pretty good chance. I love it. You're like, the odds are in its favor.
More probable than not.
If my 31 years of past life are of any hint towards it, I don't know. I don't know.
Heaven fucking help us, man. All right. Well, so Life Begins is the special.
It's on YouTube. Mike Cannon Comedy on YouTube. Just search it, or my social media at I am Mike Cannon. It's all over.
We appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, dude.
You having me, man.
Congrats.
Thank you guys very much.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.